Hi, how are you? The press conference is going to be in Spanish, and there's a translation in the earphones. So, bueno, primero voy a presentar el equipo. Desde aquí
First of all, I will introduce the cast.
La productora, que es Alicia Gerson.
The producer, Alicia Gerson, at my left.
Con su grupo de fans.
With her fan group.
Después de ella está Julieta Figueroa.
Then we have Julieta Figueroa, Rosario Blefari,
y José Luis Torres Leiva,
both actress, and José Luis Torres Leiva, the director.
Yo voy a hacer algunas preguntas y después pueden seguir preguntando cuando
I
quieran.
will do some questions, and when you want to intervene, you can do it without problems. The first question is for the director, and well, you were saying that all this starts from an experience of yours at the same place because you went there and you lived that sensation, so that memories. And then I would like you to explain which kind of place this is, and if you can talk about your experiences and what you want to tell with these experiences. Well, it is a place called Termas de Cauquenes, 2 hours of travel from Santiago, in Chile. These are good spa, and I have a good remembering of this place. I remember being gone there with my grandparents, so it was very beautiful to me, and I have quite vague ideas about that places and the restaurant there. And then I went there many years after, when I was about 30. My grandparents were died, and I was astonished because that place was exactly as I remembered it. And then another thing, there were just little details of that place. For example, sounds, the atmosphere, or other little elements that remind me of my childhood. And then I had the idea of doing a work with these memories, so that we can transmit these memories through sounds, images, in order to evoke some elements. Well, are there elements from this film that have to do with a sort of specific vision, a concrete vision? And so I would like you to tell me about this, about the vision, the sound, more than narration. Well, maybe there are complex elements. They are all together. After this, I talked with the director of photography. I had already worked with him, and I told him about this history, and I showed him photos, my photos of that time, so at the beginning of the 80s, more or less. And we thought about how to transmit these emotions in a film, and so we made many experiences with different formats. And we started with HD, and then we got to the actual format. And so we used automatic cameras, so something very simple. And then we recorded these images with this format. Then there was a first editing phase. Maybe it is more definite than the final one. We screened this film, and then we filmed that screening again. So then we corrected some colors, and so the film gained a lot by this, in this sense, because the definition was less interesting. So what we wanted to do was to transmit this sensation of memories. There are specific sequences made with photographies, with works on the material. And, well, how did you work, above all, on the end of the film, at the end of the film? And the light of the camera, the light of the night. Well, it was something like trying to exploit of that series of material we had, amateur material. So we tried to transmit all this into images, and then we used photography because, above all, in this sequence, in that sequence, it was as if I wanted to stop time while many other things happened. And so we wanted to insert some images for this reason. And this is why also I chose that sequences. And about night, well, we didn't use any artificial light. And so we used these cameras that filmed by night. And this gives this kind of effect that, well, during film, this effect has a lot of more elements. Are there questions from the audience? Well, as far as dialogues and all dramatic scenes are concerned, did you work? Well, you worked with actresses and people, native people. Do you want to talk something? Do you want to tell something about the work you did with the director, with actors? And I don't know if there are some parts of the film that you want to quote, or a situation you want to talk about, or, well, some talents, I don't know. When José Luis asked me to work with him for Yo's film, I went to Chile in order to know him, and so I went to visit the baths. And the first meeting we had, he told me about this place that was very meaningful for him. And then we had, well, a good relationship started. We had a good sensorial knowledge. And he was interested in sound. And I was very interested in this because I wanted to work, well, for example, when I'm in the bath tube, he told me about his loneliness when he was in that bath tube, and sounds from the window surrounded him, and so it was as if he didn't think about the time. So when we filmed that scene, it was the same for me. There was this sort of atmosphere, and we kept working in that way. So, for example, the scene of the phone, when I'm talking with my mother, it was made with a single shot without any rehearsal or something. Well, there was nothing different. And he put me in a state of quietness. We worked together. We were just quiet in that state of, well, this state made of sensations. Well, of course, we received a screenplay, and I had a lot of dialogues with my husband, or with my non-husband, the other guy. And in the screenplay, José gave me some space for improvisation. And so we improvised a lot, but we had some limits anyway. He decided some limits that had not to be overpassed. So at the beginning, we improvised our texts. And then he said, well, let's say he gave some boundaries. And in the end, we filmed that scenes. And so I felt that within the freedom we had to improvise, there was something clear. It was very clear. The limit we had not to overpass. And so it was nice to feel this improvisation without having a text. Well, the lady has no microphone, and it is not possible to translate.
Por si alguien, no sé si alguien con...
Intervention out of microphone. Translation is not possible.
Sí, claro, efectivamente yo soy hasta esta película, digamos, siempre
Well, actually,
he trabajado como directora, como guionista y directora, pero bueno, como muchos de los
I have always worked as a screenwriter and director, and as many Chilean directors, we are both co-producer and directors because we can manage our work, and we can work a lot with producers. So I had a space between a moment a moment and another, and I had been knowing this project for a long time because José had this idea a long time ago. So he told me about this project, and I said, well, okay, I'm going to produce it. So we used my personal experience, people I knew, and all this was used for another person too, who is a friend of mine, another director. And it was also a quite nice experience to me. So working for a work of another person enhanced our work, and the result is quite interesting. And at the beginning, it was something I did for me, and finally, I have done something for someone else. He's very kind, the atmosphere is wonderful, and so everything was really nice. It was a pleasure to film, to realize this film. And also this atmosphere we can see in the film, the summer atmosphere is what we lived during filming. Something that we can see in this film is mother, the father, children, and I imagine that all this does not come from your childhood. Why do you present this issue in the film, and why this issue was developed during screenwriting? It was something that started without a strong awareness. I have no children, but a lot of friends of mine have children. I'm 36. And people of my same generation started having a family. They started having a change in their lives. And so during last year, I could live these experiences. And this is something that had a strong role in my work. And this element wasn't so explicit, but all the characters lived this thing. It was quite simple, I must admit. I'm tired, so I will talk in English.
José Luis, you, not in all of your work, but in a lot of the work that you do, you are working with landscapes and not with people, or you're filming people but from a distance, or you're not employing dialogue. And then in this film, you are working with scripted scenes and moments with actors. So I wanted you to maybe comment on the difference between working with landscapes and less figurative ideas, and then working concretely with script and actors.
Sí, bueno, Creo que sí, el proyecto fue planteado desde un principio en donde me interesaba mucho trabajar.
At the beginning, I wanted to work with actors, and I wanted actors to be an important part of the project.
Tuve la suerte también de trabajar con la
I
mayoría de los
had the luck
actores
to work
que participan,
with
que son amigos de
a lot of
asociación,
actors that are
que no eran
friends,
porque
that are a group of friends, and so those who were outside the group, like Rosario, well, we had
muy cercanos.
we had a good relationship from the beginning anyway. So from the beginning we were quite close. It was a familiar atmosphere, so maybe I was a little bit fearful to manage all these actors because they were people I knew personally. Characters had some personal characteristics, but I relied on them. So we realized the film, not only starting from the screenplay that was quite short, maybe 40 pages or just a little more, but then we worked together with actors. And it was a new experience to me, and it was very interesting. I learned a lot during this work. And in this sense,
No sé si hay mayor diferencia como de filmar los paisajes.
I don't know if there is a difference between landscapes and people, but in some way it is as if characters were landscapes. Faces, bodies, how they move in spaces. And maybe it is the same thing, maybe there are two different united things. I had the sensation that through sound, above all through sound, and not only in scenes inside water, we have the sensation to have a place, well, as if physically we were inside water. So not only looking at it, but in any moment. Well, this is my personal sensation. I don't know if it is something really personal or if it was something you thought about. So sound, well, this is what you said before about your memories in the baths, being there in the water, giving attention to sensory part and not to concrete happenings. Well, the work of post-production was very important in this sense because the person who did this work was able to see what you are saying in the film. And so this is the reason why the film ends with water. It has been a quite long work in order to find all the details that could evoke all this in its sequence. Every sequence was quite specific. And so there has been a special attention for this. The important thing for me was not telling every single history of every single character we can see on the screen, but just telling about little moments that are, very quick, or just moments in which we could catch these images, maybe casually. And when I presented the project and I talked with Alicia, I told her as if I was imagining the history of a tree, the trunk in which there is the history of Julieta, Rosario, Francisco. It was the main branch, and then all the other histories that are told are like the other branches. So there's moments, the branches that are belonging to each character, but with a central branch. There is a special element you were talking about that is linked to what you have already said. The sensation of the film of being built by chance. It is like a reaction to your prior feature film that was more structured this is my personal idea, especially from the visual point of view. Your prior work is much more organized. Well, maybe it is more structured. Maybe was it a reaction to this? Well, yes, maybe. This project was born with the prior film. I started to write it before doing the other work. The other work was a very long one. I had to work 5 years long. So being able to produce this film and having a financing was something very slow. But in this process I learned a lot. But I wanted to launch a different project. And so I wanted to do a different feature film. So, well, maybe it comes from that experience. Well, in the end, I had a long time to, 6 years to end this project. But when the film was realized at the beginning of this year, because there is a short film between these two works, the earthquake, and in this film, the earthquake, there are no moments. How did you work? Well, Tres Semanas Después is just 1 hour long short. Well, I thought it to be just 15 minutes. Well, time goes by very fast. Well, it was a very interesting work that was presented last year. Can you talk something about this documentary experience? Well, that was a documentary that was by a plastic artist called Fernando Prato, that works also for the Biennale. Well, let's say that his work is really linked to geography in Chile, because he worked on a volcan in Chaitén in Chile, and he lives in Barcelona, but during the earthquake he was in Chile, and he wanted to work about this phenomenon. So the work is made of, let's say, the work is signaling on a map the results and the damages of a natural element and a natural phenomenon. So here we had the idea to work together, and during a documentary about this path we ran. So I concentrated on landscape for that work, a landscape that was a part of the history of Chile. That is something very constant, but ever-changing. This is due to all natural disasters. So I wanted this moment of the earthquake to remain, and then all the process of the human being that has to rebuild their places, and this was the processes. Is there some question? Well, I would like to know if it is easy or not to export a Chile film abroad, and if do you think that do you think that there are festivals more interested in Chilean films?
Es que no sé cuál es la pregunta.
Otra vez, por algo de la producción. Algo de la producción.
¿Puedes repetirla?
Te lo digo en español, que no es muy bueno, pero voy a hacerlo mejor. ¿Cuánto es fácil o difícil exportar una película fuera del Chile? Y se piensa que cuál es el país donde el Chile es el más bienvenido en festival o para la gente que lo aprecia más.
No sé si es la misma pregunta que le hicieron por
Esa misma
auriculares.
pregunta, sí. Bueno, yo creo que el caso del cine chileno es muy parecido al resto
Well,
de
the
los
case of
países.
Chilean cinema is very similar to the situation of other
Que,
South American countries.
Curiosamente, el cine se vende más, digamos, se ve
It
más
is
fuera de
curious,
Venice.
but, well, it is odd, but cinema is more
En Europa,
visible abroad than in the country. So in Europe, France and Germany are countries that appreciate Chilean cinema the most.
es más fácil verla en Francia que verla en Chile.
Usually, I can see Argentina film in France. It is something very odd, but it is the reality.
Dentro de todo creo que Francia y Alemania son países que más...
And in the end,
Y luego el circuito de festivales sí en todo el mundo. Pero
France and Germany are the more interested idea, but about exporting
muy poquito
this film and selling them. Well, in South America, quite just a few, maybe in Mexico.
Compreendido bien la película, pero quería saber
I
por qué
don't
las
know
mujeres
if
son
I
tan tristes,
understood
porque no me parecía
the
nada
film
tan
very
triste
well.
que
These women are so
una
sad.
estaba casada,
Wanted them to
otra
have
se paseaba
children.
por
One
el
was
bar.
married,
No entiendo por qué
another
son tan tristes, porque lloran. No he
worked
entendido eso. ¿Qué se
within.
pasa?
Well, I don't know why
Sí,
they're
tristes,
so
tristeza.
sad. Sad, yes, they are sad.
No, tristes.
I didn't understood if they were gray or
Bueno, yo creo que
sad.
no fue la intención tampoco como de cuando escribí el guión. Yo creo que
Well,
sí, la
this is
película
not.
tiene
This
un
was
aire
not my
melancólico. Yo
intention.
creo que es más que
The
triste.
film has a sort of melancholy
Y creo que
that is present.
sí, creo que
This
la
is the
mayoría de los
reason
personajes
why
también
they
están
are
en
sad.
proceso.
The majority of the
Momentos que
characters
vemos de los
are
personajes,
living
son
moments
pequeños
that
momentos
we
como de
can see,
decisión
but
que ellos toman.
these are
Como
just
por ejemplo,
little
Rosario,
moments of
decide,
decision, like
tener su
Rosario,
hijo, le cuenta a su mamá que
who
llama un poco
decides to go on with her pregnancy and tells tells it about this to her mother or Julieta, who is thinking about having a child or not. And this is just the moment characters are living. I don't know if this is a sad moment for everybody, but maybe it is just a little bit sad.
Tristeza es extraño. Bueno, mas depois vou falar mais sobre isso.
I found it odd that a girl was sad when she's pregnant. She was pregnant. In order to belie your impression, well, I don't agree. This is a happy film with a quiet happiness made of little nice things that are not shown in a bright way, but that maybe can be felt by the audience. I don't know if asking you about this, because you said this is a sad film, but I think there is a sensation of transmitting calm and happiness. These are just little and specific moments. And happiness can be, well, I think happiness can be quite evident or not. Well, maybe Brazilian happiness is different. Maybe this is the reason Chile and Brazil are very different.
Porque las mujeres lloran. ¿Lo has visto ahí?
Well, women cry. Well, just one. There is just a part in which women cry. Well, there are just light tears. Okay, let's listen to your explanation. So maybe I felt a deep sadness in my heart as a woman. Well, this is what the film gave to you. Well, that's okay. And why do you think? Well, let's talk about this after. Are you happy? Okay, wonderful.
¿Cómo es que no funciona? La aspiradora, es por eso.
This is the reason why she was sad, because the machinery wasn't working. Something that I would like to ask to the actress that couldn't see the film before, which was the sensation you had seeing this work here? Which is the sensation? Well, actually, I had the possibility to see this video, but I said no. I wanted to see this film on the widescreen. Well, for example, I went away from that place, but in a prior film I was present during all filming, and in this film I was present just in my personal scenes, so I didn't know what happened to other characters. So I could see myself involved in a general history that had, well, each personal history was linked with the other histories because of situation, the places, etc. Because we are all living the same place, and in this place each character has a history that was part of my own history. Well, looking at sisters, well, I felt a part of me being there, then Rosario, Alejandra and Claudio. And I felt that this was the history of my character, and that was part of each history. Our histories that we are part of the film anyway. And well, it is strange, but it is something that never happened to me before. I've never seen a film just as an audience, a part of the audience. And at the same time, there is another level in which the film was changed into as if it was a part of my life. Well, I'm a little bit confused. I don't know if I can explain myself. In the moment I watched the film, I was living it. It is a sort of emotion. Even if reality we looked at during filming was different, the film, the fiction, and these couples that are totally different from how we were. But strangely enough, as if it was a translation in fiction, a different kind of fiction of what we were living and what happened with this film, something very strange. It was quite strong as an emotion, and at the same time I watched today's film as a part of the audience, a simple part of the audience.
Felicitaciones, José Luis, todas las actrices, el equipo.
Well, compliments José Luis and all the actresses. I like the film a lot. I'm Brazilian, and I agree with Sarah. Well, I don't agree with Sarah, I'm sorry. But as you are saying, maybe summer in Chile is quite ephemeral. There is something that I would like to say, something that I'm keeping in my mind, and I thought about it. There is a lot of improvisation, this is clear. There is something smooth that I liked a lot, as Diego says. It is different from your first feature film. And the issue of statical photography. Well, I wanted to ask you about this. Was it something structured and decided, or something that was realized just during working? And are you an editor? You are an editor, so I wanted to know how many hours you worked to realize the editing. And so how was the editing, simply?
con respecto a la fotografía, eso estaba
About
explicado en el
photography,
guion,
well,
un poco por lo que contaba
this was
anteriormente
present in the screenplay from the beginning because of what I was saying before. So this to work in a static way.
no fue algo
So in
como
this sense,
improvisado,
we
como
followed the
en
screenplay. There is no improvisation.
Con respecto al montaje,
Then about editing, well,
bien fue un proceso largo en realidad porque yo hice
it was a quite long
corte de la
work
película,
because I realized the
solo,
first
sí.
cut,
y
just
después la película,
one cut,
a partir
and
de
then
ese primer corte,
film, well,
entró
starting
una
from that
artista
first work,
y empezamos, ella me hizo
there
una
has been
propuesta
a
de proyecto,
person, an editor,
y ahí
who
empezamos a
proposed
trabajar
me to work with
Entonces, ya
me,
teníamos
starting
una
from
base
my work, but we already had a basis,
concreta
let's
de
say,
lo que
a
queríamos
concrete
hacer.
basis of what we wanted to
Sí,
do.
no nos basamos tanto en el guión, porque
And
hicimos más
we
cosas.
didn't use the screenplay
Entonces,
because
tenía
we
bastante
did
libertad,
a lot of things more, and I was free to choose because we had different structures available, so I could move different elements in composing this film. So there were a lot of possibilities.
No sé cuánto habrá sido el trabajo, unos 5 meses.
I don't know. Well, maybe I worked 4 times or 5 months. I
¿Cuánto
don't
tiempo
know.
tenía su primer corte que he hecho solito?
Duraba
How well, it was. The first cut was after 104 minutes. Yes,
Bueno, muchas gracias.
104 minutes. Well, okay. Thank you. No,
Hay tiempo para
sorry.
alguna pregunta más.
There is another question, a very practical one. How much this film costed? We know that an experimental film for a festival. How many possibilities has this film to be received from South American film? Which are your future projects, etc.?
Ok, la película costó como $200,000.
The film costed
y tenemos
$200,000.
vendedor, un agente de
We
venta,
have a
se
seller,
llama Pili.
an agent, a selling agent.
Y yo creo
Sales
que
agent,
nosotros
sorry.
tenemos bastante. O sea, ya José Luis tiene.
We have, I
otro
think, well,
largometraje
José
de
Luis
ficción, tiene dos
has
documentales largos,
another feature
varios
film, 2
cortos, yo
documentaries,
estoy haciendo un
many
tercer
short
largo,
films.
y,
I'm working on my third feature film. Let's say that this kind of film for festivals, we know this kind of film, and I think we won't have many surprises. It will be sold as this kind of film is usually sold. I hope there will be a quite good selling. We just started, so we will go to the Rotterdam Film Festival in January because we had the support of this festival and then the Festival of Valdivia in Chile. And well, that's it. And what about future projects? Now I'm working on a documentary that I'm working on with blind and deaf people, and I hope being able to finish this project by the end of the year. It is called Ver y Escuchar, seeing and listening. I thank you, and if you want to ask some other question to our guests, they are around. So just I wanted to thank Alicia, José, and the festival, and on behalf of this team, I wanted to support the student mobilization demonstration that is present in Chile. We wanted to support it.